the dying embers of human existence, as the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth, the world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the Earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70mm prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more, for friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Join us as we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms, deliberating on whether each one is worthy of salvation or destined for destruction in the face of the impending asteroid apocalypse. Woo! You can find more episodes of this podcast on backtotheframerate.com, where you can subscribe and share our show, and find us on our socials at Back to the Frame Rate. I am Nathan Shore, and accompanying me are the extraordinary movie mavens, Brianna Butterworth and Sam Cole.
Hello.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. My heart is filled with mirth because I just got a new AAA card in the mail, which will help my vehicle for a year to come, baby. Anyway, off topic, but happy days.
You are living the life there, Sam.
Living the life over here.
You are. You know, Sam and B, I was talking with someone who listens to our show, but didn't realize that what we do here is more than just we review films. They seem to just listen and then tap out after our main review. And so they're not listening to the whole thing. There are literally thousands of podcasts out there where you can just listen to opinions about these movies. But it's always been our intention to not just give our thoughts on movies that we feature each week, but to deliver an entertaining piece of content with some banter and film recommendations and other things that we do in our lives. AAA. Hey, plug your AAA. You can get a discount on hotels, restaurants, get your AAA. It's really not that much money a year.
It's worth it.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyways, a few weeks ago, we did a fun game where we did our IMDb game, which was a lot of fun. So what I'm basically saying, stick around for the entire episode because it's chock full of surprises each and every week. So what I'm going to start doing is giving our listeners like a table of contents every week. I'm not going to do a long, elaborate intro like I'm doing right now every week. But so on today's episode, we're going to have a discussion of the film we're reviewing, make our important decisions on whether it deserves to be saved into the precious confines of a shelter or eliminated into the vast wasteland of the apocalyptic fallout. Then something I think we on the podcast are going to have a lot of fun with our listeners at home and they'll enjoy. And that's going to be a Harrison Ford movie draft. We did this last year one time with a 1984 movie draft. I think we have a lot of fun doing this. And we'd love to know, the listeners at home, who you think got the best draft of the three of us. And then if time permits, we're going to try to do maybe a weekly highlight where each of us will share maybe something from the last week that we watched or reviewed related to movies or not. It always depends on what we're in the mood for. But that's what is going to be on the show this week. But before we get to that, I have a question for my co-host. It's a pretty simple one. It might require some math, but I don't think you're really going to go to math here.
Oh boy.
But it's important. This has some big stakes. Are you ready?
I'm scared.
Okay. How many Reese's Pieces could you fill the Holy Grail from this movie? This particular Grail that was inside of the Temple of the Sun, of course, its intended purpose. And we all know that Jesus demanded no green M&Ms or that some PA's head was going to roll. There's actually no real answer to this. However, I did do a lot of research on this, and it's estimated. And this is important information, so you can make your best guess. And the person who has the most accurate guess to this number is going to go first or last.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to go first because only I would think of such a ridiculous game with so much lunacy involved. So I will go first in our review, but that's how we're going to determine the order. So whoever gets
Okay.
closest will go last and so forth. But anyways, this is the information you need to know. It's estimated on the internet. And by the way, I used 6 different AI chatbots to figure out this information. Okay.
Okay.
It's estimated there are 8 ounces of liquid that can fill the Holy Grail from this movie. And the average size of a Reese's Pieces is 0.7 cubic centimeters. So knowing that information, how many do you guess will fill that Holy Grail?
Okay, you're saying Reese's Pieces, not Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
No, Reese's
right?
Pieces.
You mean like the little, the
B,
candy coated?
There's a Steven Spielberg tie-in.
This is peanut butter cups. Would be like 4 of them.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just checking.
No, I know. I'm just
Okay.
Fuck. I don't know.
I don't know. 103.
I'm gonna say. So I'm seeing the cup, and I'm seeing Douglas Holmes' cinematography, and hearing Spielberg's voice. All right, pushing for the dolly shot. All right.
Oh my God.
I would say 190.
Well, you're both pretty far off. The actual number that's estimated from 6 different AI chatbot things that I averaged out is 467 based on
I
that
can't believe
math.
you're trying to let the fucking robots take my job, Nathan.
This is how I spent my Sunday in this.
You were making me hungry, though.
I went against my instinct was to go higher, and there's a scene at the beginning of Willow when Warwick Davis doesn't trust his instinct, and the wizard is, you should trust your instinct. So I just pulled
Tim,
Willow.
I can't wait for the day that you and I get high together and watch Willow, because I know we're both fans, but it comes out at the weirdest time.
Oh God, well, I look forward to that as well. So
it's going to be good.
But because Sam, you were still the closest, you are going to go third. Sam, B, you're second, and I have to go first. That's my punishment.
I'm third for the threequel. Back to the frame rate where the jokes are coming all day.
Oh my God.
Okay. If you hadn't already guessed, the film that we are reviewing this week is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989 from Steven Spielberg, 3rd film in the trilogy, 3rd film in our quest for fortune and glory in this retrospective. Can't wait to talk about this with each of you. Be the first time you've seen this movie, first time you've seen any of these films in the Indiana Jones franchise. If anybody's tuning in for the first time. But let's start with a plot synopsis. Let's pull this up here. Here it is. All right. And here it is. The intrepid explorer Indiana Jones sets out to rescue his father, a medievalist who has vanished while searching for the Holy Grail. Following clues in the old man's notebook, Indy arrives in Venice, where he enlists the help of a beautiful academic, but they are not the only ones on the trail, and some sinister old enemies soon come out of the woodwork. Here is a trailer somewhere.
Hold on, I'll do the trailer. Junior. Yes, sir. It is you, Junior.
All right, here's the trailer.
You're about to complete a great quest, the Holy Grail, Dr. Jones.
Oh, rats.
This is it. Look, the shield is the second marker. We found it.
Indiana Jones is on the quest of a lifetime. But for some adventures, one Jones is not enough.
Dad? Junior? Don't call me that, please.
Follow me! I know the way! A race across 3 continents.
And in this sort of race, there's no silver medal for finishing second.
Hang on, Dad! We're going in! Into the homeland of the enemy.
Nazis. I hate these guys. Our situation has not improved.
In his search for the Holy Grail.
How dare you kiss me?
Are you crazy? Don't go between them!
Go between them, are you crazy?
Okay. There's a piece of the trailer from The Last Crusade. Sam, hand it over to you. Do you have some movie facts for us?
Indeed. Going right to the tonality of this movie, this film is Spielberg's and Lucas's answer and rebuke to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. They go back to a lighter, more open-aired, much more akin to Raiders feel with this movie. This film is obviously directed by Steven Spielberg, from a screenplay by Jeffrey Boehm, who I believe wrote some Lethal Weapon films.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Interesting.
And he did some other thing. He did Inner Space, The Lost Boys, and The Dead Zone. So he's had a really good track record.
I love The Lost Boys.
It's awesome. I do love the Lethal Weapon 2 better than 3, but that's a side point. But a story by George Lucas and Menno Meyjes, and this is based on characters by George Lucas and Philip Coffin. Produced by Robert Watts, which I was actually really happy about because I feel like he was an associate producer on a previous installment, and so and I've watched behind the scenes all the time, and I just enjoy his general energy. So I'm happy to see Robert Watts as like the producer of this movie. It's just like,
he's a fun interview always.
Yeah, he's good. He's they wouldn't let us shoot there. Blah. Starring Harrison Ford, Denholm Elliott, Alison Doody, John Rhys Davies, Julian Glover as the main villain, and of course Sean Connery plays Harrison Ford's father. Fun fact: Sean Connery was only 12 years older than Harrison Ford. And so for him to play his father...
but Harrison Ford is so hot.
They did a good job making there appear more of an age gap there. Returning cinematographer Douglas Slocombe, who did the previous 2 Indiana Jones, also the third one as well. Of course, edited by Spielberg's main collaborator, Michael Kahn. Music by John Williams. And this was a big success. The budget was $48 million, made $474 million worldwide. According to this, it says it's the biggest film worldwide of 1989. I thought that was Batman, but I guess I don't know if it's
that Batman came in number 2.
Oh, really? Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, including worldwide gross. I always thought it was Batman. That's impressive. So yeah, more lighthearted than the first. They really went globetrotting in this film. They went to Italy. All the desert scenes were shot in Spain, where they did the scene with a tank. They went to Petra in Jordan, which is the what's it called? The Temple of the Sun? Is it the name of it?
That's what they call it in the movie.
In the movie, yeah.
I think I'm blanking what the actual location's called, and it's in the. I'm blanking now, but I'm sorry.
And just random thing here, but the 2 Temple of Doom writers, Willard Huck and Gloria Katz, who collaborated with Lucas on American Graffiti, they chose not to return due to both having other commitments and feeling satisfied with their work in the second film.
Their other commitment was Howard the Duck.
Oh my God. I did not know that. Wow.
Wow, what a quack.
You gotta get your priorities straight, I guess. Hey, which I feel the difference in the writing, and I actually like Jeffrey Boehm's script, and I can feel the tonality difference to what I'm saying. Spielberg, this was fascinating. Due to Spielberg's commitment to this film, he had to drop out of directing Big and Rain Man, both films which he was interested in. Rain Man by Barry Levinson I really like. It would have been a totally different if Steven Spielberg had directed that. It might have been great. I can't even imagine, but the film that was not to be. Interestingly enough, Lucas had initially wanted to do a haunted house movie, and Spielberg was not huge on the idea, but they do incorporate that into the castle in the film, which is on the border of Germany and
Austria.
And Austria, yeah. And so they do have sort of sequences. It's not literally a haunted house, but that's the closest to haunted they get. Lucas was the one that was pushing the idea for the Grail, and Steven Spielberg was concerned about that it would come across too close to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and that it'd be associated as too much silliness. It was Spielberg that pushed the idea that the search for the Grail is the search for the Father. Spielberg loves this movie because of the father-son relationship and the humor and the tone. And he said before in interviews that it's his favorite Raiders film. He refers to all the Indiana Jones movies as Raiders films because obviously the first one. So he likes it a lot. Temple of Doom is actually his least favorite. And if that's what I've
Mine
got
too.
at the moment, I'm sure I'm missing. I feel a little unprepared tonight. I was cooking chicken and I burnt it. So otherwise I would have had 20 more minutes of prep. So
Well, that's very good facts you dropped on us. So thank you. B, were you going to say something?
Oh, he said just Steven Spielberg. It was Temple of Doom was his least favorite. I said
That's
mine
his
too.
least favorite. Yeah.
I just want to say that it's so wonderful that there's the continuity with these three movies with director, producer, cinematographer, composer, editor, and of course, Ford.
You can feel that.
You really do feel that, especially in this third movie.
Yeah.
Get my Asperger's out. Fuck, shit. No, just kidding.
Yeah, but as I was saying, you really, as B, you also mentioned, you feel the continuity of the cast and crew, both sides of this camera. You really feel it in this film. A few things I just wanted to mention here. You mentioned the budget of $48 million in 2024 dollars. That would be about $121 million if shot today.
Wow.
So yeah. And the $474 million box office. This was released on May 24th, 1989, almost 5 years to the day after Temple of Doom. That was on May 23rd, if memory serves. So that, yes. I think it's also Memorial. These traditionally come out on Memorial Day weekend. Do anyone remember what Raiders was? I don't remember offhand if that.
I feel like Raiders opened later in June. Was the one outlier?
Like it was a summer movie.
Yeah.
Firmly summer.
I was also looking at the box office. I'll do this really quick, and people, that audience, let us know if this box office rundown is dragging or not. But I love looking at this because I think it gives context to what was going on in the box office that weekend. Memorial Day is always a fascinating weekend for me. But Indiana Jones debuted at number 1, $37 million. See No Evil, Hear No Evil. In his third week, $6.3 million. Anybody
That's a
remember?
fun movie. Is
Richard
that the
Pryor, Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great one.
Field of Dreams in its sixth week of release brought in $5.6 million. I love Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Again, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Love his role in that. Roadhouse, number 2. 4.9.
What a great week at the movies.
Number 5, a movie I saw in the theater probably a week after this was Pink Cadillac. Clint Eastwood movie. Oh, wow. Bernadette Peters was in this as well, $4.4 million. Number 6 was K9 with $3.1 million. I think that's the James Belushi police dog movie.
That's right. And Turner and Hooch with Tom Hanks came out later that summer.
Yes, exactly.
This made the box office top 10. Okay.
Yep. And in its 5th week of release. Number 7 in its 6th week of release, making $2.5 million was Pet Sematary. Number 8 in its 8th week of release, $1.4 million was Major League. Movie I saw twice in the theater. I loved it so much because I love baseball movies. 2 baseball movies in the top 10 this week.
And dogs.
Rain Man at number 9 this week, $1.2 million in its 24th week of release. And number 10, a movie I don't remember at all, Scandal. Just made under $1 million. I don't know.
Not sure that is.
Yeah. What's crazy is that outside of the second baseball movie and Scandal, I have seen everything except The Last Crusade until this week.
At the 62nd Academy Awards, this was nominated for Best Score, Best Sound Mixing, and it won Best Sound Editing. They liked the sound.
And by the way, totally random comment. This is just me. I'm like obsessed with the clock, but this Last Crusade is like between 7 and 8 minutes longer than its 2 predecessors.
Yeah.
Raiders is hour 51. Temple of Doom is hour 53. And without credits, Last Crusade is 2 hours and 1 minute. I'm obsessive I'm fascinated by time. But so Raiders, if you really like Indiana Jones movies, there's more of Last Crusade.
Right.
About 8 minutes more.
I think you can feel it.
Yeah.
So I think we get now to our thoughts on this film. I guess I'm going
Take
first.
It away, Nathan.
All right. I will take it away. Okay. You know something? I'm going to say something I thought would never come out of my mouth.
Is this your favorite?
And it's not really a hot take, But typically for people of my generation, this may be blasphemy. I think Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is the best film in this franchise. Yeah.
I've heard that a lot
and
from people.
and after watching these first 3 movies my entire life, it doesn't mean that it's my favorite. It's teetering, but I think this is by far the most put together film in the franchise. And it actually still, it might be my favorite. But I think it may be that I'm looking at this with, shall we say, there's some personal baggage as well.
Sure.
But as I watch these first 8 films, I think it's obvious we're going back to the Raiders of the Lost Ark of it all. And it has all the feels of great action and location set pieces that Raiders had. It's got that mystery. It's got great villains, but also Crusade gives us, I think, a version of Indy we've never seen before. And it does this in a couple ways, 2 ways, basically. And first, we got that great prologue. I think it's great. Some people don't like it. They find it fan servicey, but I still think it's a wonderful opening. And it does this but also does this with incredible father-son storyline, which makes Indy more than just an action hero. It transforms him into a character with real emotions. In Raiders and in Temple of Doom, I feel like he's strictly an action hero, and he's given so much more to feel in this movie. The father-son storyline gives Indy emotional vulnerability, making him more than a archetypal action hero. It turns him into someone that we can all relate to, someone dealing with unresolved family issues, longing for validation, and ultimately, finding peace in that relationship rather than the treasures that he's seeking. And to keep this short, I love all the course correction that Spielberg and his team are doing with this film after Temple of Doom. The comedy in this film is great. Connery and Ford's chemistry is amazing and surprising because on paper, this shouldn't work. Neither Connery and Ford are known for their comedic chops and their timing, but somehow
it's amazing how good that they're dynamic. Like how I'm like when you see it, it's my God, these guys really are great actors.
They
like,
come off as like a comedy team that could go on the road. They're that good. You would never think of these guys as non-comedic actors. This is the funniest Harrison Ford movie ever by a long stretch. And this is not really a straightforward, actually it is a comedy. It's an action comedy. It really is. But he's never been this funny. He's never had this great comedic timing. I have a lot more to say about this, but also I'm happy they shifted away from slapstick humor and more toward sight gags and general funny banter. I think was the right choice. There are a few nitpicks I have in this movie, but it's just a stellar entry in this franchise. And this movie, more than ever, I think from where I am in life, means the world to me. And I will talk more about why that is in a little bit. This is a 5-star movie.
I love it.
B.
Yeah, we're so back. Yes, I loved this movie. I thought I was just so happy watching it the whole time. I was grinning ear to ear. I think you're right. It is an adventure comedy, an action comedy. I think this is a wonderful, delightful, and whimsical blend of camp and action that we don't get to see a lot. And it nearly crosses the line into being too much a few times. And it perfectly reins itself back in. I think it just toes that line the entire time. We're back with amazing set pieces. I loved that intro with the circus and the railroad cars. Bittersweet reveal for me with it being River Phoenix. I didn't know. Yeah, I was like, oh my God. But over and over, this movie sets up Indy, the idea of Indy as someone who might not always be a good guy, but who's always doing it for the right reasons. And we see that. I think the prologue sets that up really beautifully. It's a great sequence. It's really fun. It's action packed. And also right away, you see the score is going to be for me, the best of the three. I had a wonderful time listening to the John Williams score. It felt like we were moving again. My big issue with Temple of Doom is you take this great action adventure hero and you put him in a haunted house, and it felt claustrophobic and it felt like it dragged on for too long. Great to be out in the wild again, sprawling and traveling and seeing Indy challenged in element after element, not just tortured in a haunted house. That was really fun. And the casting is spot on. Like you mentioned, Nathan, there's "she talks in her sleep" might be one of the best line reads I ever. That was so much fun. Sean Connery turns the everyman that Willie was in the last movie on its head. He's not helpless. He, in fact, is the helper, and he gets Indy where he needs to be in the end. I think Elsa's a great turncoat. I love that every time in this movie when there's a love interest, we get a totally different dimension and type of woman. That's just a treat for me. We get to see John Rhys Davis again. That's incredible. Sorry, I feel like I'm taking forever on this one. I loved this movie, and I like the connection that Spielberg and Lucas are drawing with the Holy Grail and that sort of search for purity in intention that later you can backfill to Temple and to Raiders. For me, it's a 4.5. I think Raiders hit the 5-star mark for me, but I thought this was wonderful.
All right. Thank you. Great. Sam.
I agree with everything you guys said. I love the movie. A few interesting things. When they did a first cut of the film, Spielberg felt that there wasn't enough action, or what he said was he felt that we weren't giving them as much action as the audience expected. So that motorcycle chase, right after they get out of the castle, that motorcycle chase was done after the fact in Marin County, California, right near Lucas Valley Ranch.
It's so good.
Ranch, and it's excellent, and it's perfect that chase happened there, because I think what originally would have happened is that you just see that gag where the Nazis are going into the boat and they like zoom by in the motorcycle and knock those two guys into the water. I think that was the original cut, and I'm so glad they added a chase there. I love the movie a lot. It is really, if you go online and look at debates, if they're like ranking Indiana Jones films, Last Crusade and Raiders are always neck, and they're both so good that it's really hard to say one is much better than the other. For me personally, I think just because Raiders was the first and it introduced this type of like modern action adventure, Raiders to me has the slightest edge. But I love Sean Connery in this movie. I love the character, like their relationship. They seem, not only is it comedic, but they seem like a real father and son, and I like how annoyed like Harrison gets at his dad in certain scenes. Come on, Dad, come on. It's just so realistic, and I appreciate that a lot more now. This was the first Indiana Jones I saw in the theater. It was like the last day of first grade. I was like 8 years old, so I went to see it with my dad in like a matinee show. Just amazing. Obviously, as an 8-year-old, I'm not going to get a joke about it. Understand the joke of Indy and his father sleeping with the same woman. That's something you figured out later on. But like, the visuals, the genius of Spielberg is like, I loved that movie as a little kid. And obviously I couldn't pick up on everything I picked up on now, but I could pick up on the visuals and the movement of the story. And it was just wildly entertaining.
There's so much momentum in this movie.
There's so much momentum.
They're moving.
I think to me, I feel like this is a bit more of a chase film where like Raiders, I like how Raiders spends a lot more of its time at the Tanis dig site. Like I like that big midsection. This movie is more like globe-trotting adventure. I love it. I would say if I was being nit pieces, some of the set pieces I like better than others. For some reason, it's clever. And I like the thing with the boat propeller, but the boat chase in Venice, I've always thought that's good, but it doesn't for other set pieces, I'd put that more lower on the bar. But what makes the movie and what elevates it and what this movie needs is an incredible set piece. And I think the tank chase rivals the truck chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark. They're both about 8.5 minutes long. All the stuff that happens on the tank, that's amazing. Them escaping the fireplace with the revolving door is amazing. So when the set pieces are at their best, they're incredible in this film. I think everything looks good, like the catacombs under Venice. This movie has a very epic feel because they're like literally going after the Holy Grail, and it's like dangerous and far away in a canyon in the desert. And I love the climax when they're in that place and they have those three challenges. I think the breath of God, the word of God, the path of God. My favorite is when Indy literally has to jump into that impossible chasm on a leap of faith. And
I
that
was
cliff was,
on the edge of my seat. That
yeah.
was so well done. I was so tricked by that.
No, it was incredible. But the stakes are so high at the end of that movie
Yes.
because like he is just rekindled with his father and his father's life is on the line.
Well, that's
Indy
what's
has no choice.
that's
And
what's
so
great about it. You've added the ticking clock element into this. It's not about Indy getting the Holy Grail. There's major stakes to this because of that, the urgency now. It's a brilliant move.
major stakes, incredible stakes. And just as a piece of set design, I have always been obsessed with like cliffs and
may I ask, not just like world saving stakes, it's personal stakes.
personal stakes. Yeah, it's like character driven stakes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm obsessed with it, but that cliff that Indy has to do the leap of faith on, the shot where he comes out and you're looking down at the blackness of that cliff, that place was epically terrifying. That temple and those challenges has the most supernatural, spiritual, otherworldly, dangerous feel to it and just that place is, I love the knight. I love the humor. I like that Sean Connery gets to meet the knight because his academic quest is fulfilled and they can't cross the seal, but he waves to him. The ending is just perfect. It's epic. I would give it 4.5 just because Raiders has that edge, but like I can arguably see this as a better movie than Raiders. That's why it's a challenge for me because for me, it's just Raiders being first. But to your point, Nathan, one thing I think Spielberg or the cinematographer said in this film, because of its personal character driven nature, there are a lot more close-ups of Indiana Jones, like extreme close-ups on his face and his father face. He's not in as many close-ups in the first two films. So there'll be close-up shots, but it's more like wide or him talking to people. In Last Crusade is the most personal of the three, and I can honestly see why Spielberg at that time wanted to end it there because it's like the perfect trilogy ender. It's just perfect.
It is.
So, yeah.
It is.
And this one sticks the landing more than the other two, I think.
They literally ride off into the sunset in the last shot. How perfect is that? They're riding into the sunset. That's the shot. They actually ride toward it.
And it also gets her comeuppance, which I really liked.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the ground splitting apart there with all the. I remember being a little depressed after I saw the movie when I was a kid because I was so blown away by Indiana Jones's adventures. I was like, Dad, I want to go on adventures. Like, how do I get to do that? And he was like, what's a movie? But yeah.
There's a point I was thinking about as I'm watching this that it stuck to my ribs that I couldn't shake. There is a divine force that seems to be watching over Indy. And I love that the film is acknowledging that in this version, in this film here, because Indy, this film is in on the joke. Through the first two movies, no matter what shenanigans befall him, he's going to be okay. And it's not just that. This movie is acknowledging that there's a mystical presence, or maybe it's a guardian angel that is with him and is going to throw back his hat at the end of the scene as well. And this movie is finally in on the joke. It knows who the audience is and what it is. And it's for the first time, I feel like it's really comfortable in its shoes and it knows how to write the perfect movie that is addressing that, because I love how it's embracing kind of the ridiculousness in a lot of ways that this guy's going to be okay no matter what. He's not going to fall off a cliff and the hat's going to blow right into his hand. He's going to jump into the water and his hat's going to float right over to him. And
I love it when his hat just blows back and he's just sitting there.
And we think nothing of it because he is just always going to have that kind of luck, or a guardian angel or something, or God or whatever.
I mean, Spielberg, he's a very like faith-based filmmaker. And I think he does a great job in this, blending the ridiculousness that is faith sometimes.
He does, and you talk about the humor or like his faith, or Indiana Jones always like having divine interception. I love it when he like survives the tank thing and his father's happy to see him, but Denholm Elliott is like standing in the background. Didn't he just fall off the cliff? He's like, how did that? They're acknowledging how ridiculous it is.
I will say I
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily thrilled with what they did with the Denholm Elliott character in this. I feel
You
like
like turn him into a total doofus.
he's an absolute
He's
buffoon
not a
in this.
doofus in the first one. Yeah.
He's not. And I think the movie needed that kind of comic relief, but he really is a bumbling buffoon in this movie. And
The moment that gets a huge laugh, because I saw it. It's not even a complaint, but I saw this movie way too many times. I love it, but I almost know it too well. But in the theater, what always got laughs is when it's the camera's pushing in on Indiana Jones. He's like, Brody, you'll never find him. He'll blend in, disappear. With any luck, he's got the Grail already. And then it just cuts to Marcus Brody. He's, does anyone interpret it? I speak ancient Greece.
well, I have to say, it is one of my favorite quotes from this movie. I did capture that audio, and I want to play it because this just speaks to the quality of the writing and the comedy in this, which is so much better than the Temple of Doom. Let me play it here.
He's given them to Marcus Brody.
Marcus? You didn't drag poor Marcus along, did you? He's not up to the challenge.
He sticks out like a sore thumb. We'll find him.
The hell you will. He's got a 2-day head start on you, which is more than he needs. Brody's got friends in every town and village from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, disappear. You'll never see him again. With any luck, he's got the Grail already.
Does anyone here speak English?
See, I thought that was Indy bluffing. I thought,
he's totally bluffing.
He knows.
Okay.
He knows. He's just trying to throw the
knows.
Nazis off. You know what's interesting too? I feel like
it's admitted later. He's talking to his dad, like, he'd get lost in his own museum. He tells his dad that,
yeah.
What's interesting with this movie, like Raiders, Spielberg himself actually seems more interested in the story as a director. So when there's like expository dialogue, when they're explaining things, there's like when he's with Donovan at that like cocktail party, they talk about the plot and they talk about how to find the Grail, and it's very focused on it. In Temple of Doom, every time there's plot forwarding moments, Spielberg is always undercutting it with, here's some gross out comedy, or here's someone.
Oh my God. Yes.
And Raiders and Crusade, they focus on they let the story, they don't, when it comes to expository dialogue, the movie doesn't like try to make you not pay attention to it. It just focuses on it, and it in and of itself is interesting.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Sam, because this is something I wanted to mention the last two movies, and I kept forgetting to do so. Because in Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's a very important expository dialogue that happens where they're talking about where the Nazis are digging. And it's something that I always never really paid attention to, because at the same time, it's when Indy has the poison date. And all you're doing is watching. Is he going to eat the date? Is he going to eat the date? But him and Salah are talking about where they're digging. The Nazis are digging in the wrong place.
The back of the coin. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had to watch it probably like 15 times to start paying attention to that bit of dialogue. The other thing in Temple of Doom, there's this whole conversation about the thuggy cult happening at the dinner that I'm not paying attention to because I'm watching all the gross out food that's happening. But there's a lot of information going on in that scene that no one's paying attention to. In this movie, one of my biggest complaints was that they're dumping all this expository dialogue and no one's paying attention to it, because don't listen to this, look at this.
I think Spielberg himself said too that like he often he'll do a lot of meticulous storyboarding on action sequences. He did a lot less storyboarding with Temple of Doom. He said that he was uncomfortable with the darker nature of the story, and he didn't quite tonally feel comfortable with it. So he said that he went out of his way to interject as much humor as he could to lighten up the movie. And you can see those tones at odds with each other in that film. Whereas this film, the wit and the action, it's like, it feels just like everyone's on the same page this go round. It just, and I thought I forgot.
I think that speaks to the comfort that you mentioned earlier, Nathan. There's just this, we've lived in this character's skin. Everyone who's worked on this movie has followed along and grown with the character and thought about the character, and they're growing in the same direction. And there's a confidence in storytelling that comes from that.
I think
there
also
is, and that like tank chase, it means a lot, because it's just that this movie has that desert, like B, you talked about in the first film how everyone's like really dirty and grimy and dusty. Like
The
this,
80s were the sweatiest time to make a movie.
this
It's
film goes
ridiculous.
back to that, like the dirt and the
Yeah.
the desert and like vehicles kicking up dust and horses. It's got that. It's back to that third act really helps make the movie for me because due to the grandeur of it. I love everything else, but I love how big the ending gets. It's just their quest gets huge. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What else? I actually have some thoughts on the ending, and you might not like all my comments on it, but I don't want to jump there yet because there's a few things. I think it's also important to mention that the course correction with the lesser emphasis on blood and gore is a big thing. It's funny that Temple of Doom was rated PG. This was PG-13, and there is not barely a trace of blood in this movie. I think the only blood we see might be on River Phoenix's chin in the beginning of this movie.
It might just be the anxiety that like all the decapitated heads in this movie might bring. That could be it. Like a lot of people,
perhaps. So there's that. What else?
I will say one nitpicky thing, and this is just, I totally love this movie, but I wanted to, Nathan, you know how you'll sometimes talk about, okay, so I've never noticed this ever watching it before, but when they're tied up to the chair in the castle, and he's lets me kill them now, and then Elle says, no, they might be useful. They all leave the room. There's no guard. Like they just left them there. That was a little bit like, that's a little convenient.
There's little plot holes like that, like in the airport or like off the blimp or whatever, when they punch the guy and then that's never really followed up on. There's some stuff like that just doesn't come all the way full circle. It doesn't distract me, but I noticed it.
This was the first time go ahead, Sam.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I know it's meant as like comedy, but with the first time when he like bumps into Adolf Hitler in the theater, I was terrified because I was like, oh my God, he's gonna like he's gonna find out who he is. Then he signs his autograph, and you're like, oh, like that scene is tense. But
you know, it's funny going back to the blimp for a moment. This was the first time I noticed, and this was like probably looped in dialogue in post, that Indy destroyed the radio on the Zeppelin afterwards. I never picked up in that
dialogue. I had noticed that too. Yes.
And because I always was wondering how stupid, like this doesn't make any sense at all. If he's throwing General Vogel out of the Zeppelin, why is that Zeppelin still taking off? Like, why aren't they like calling that come back? Like, why is it taking them like a half hour to figure this out? And I never picked up in that looped in dialogue when they're going through the belly of the Zeppelin afterwards until this past week, like 35 years
I know.
ago.
It's amazing. Like I've noticed little bits of dialogue that like the first time watching Temple recently, I actually did not focus on all the gross out stuff. And I listened to the expository dialogue and they explained a lot about the Thuggee. I was like, man, I never knew that before. This is only my 40th time watching this movie, you know? But I hear that but there's little things like that. I love it when Sean Connery shoots the tail of the plane, but when it shows the wide shot of the plane, like the tail's fine. Like it's
By the way, there are like 4 major action set pieces in this film. There's like the boat chase, there's the motorcycle chase, there's the plane dogfight, and the tank chase. The plane dogfight, it's really cool, and I love the banter between him and his dad, but it looks awful. Like those they couldn't bother to have like even the tiniest little fan blowing in them to show that there's some wind at them.
I was just watching this so happy because I was like, man, these guys fucking love planes.
Like why don't they take their hats off or something? Because it shows that they're clearly not flying. And the funny thing is, Steven Spielberg did another movie involving planes that same year, and those flying sequences look a lot better.
No, exactly. So it's Christmas '89. It's incredible. That's Ellie's favorite movie. Sorry, Ellie, I couldn't resist. But even in 1989, that plane chase was very entertaining. But even as a kid, it looked. I could feel like I couldn't articulate it back then, but it looked a little wonky. But I like
inauthenticity.
I do love I love it when like the Nazi flies into under the bridge and like clips his wings and just slides past them under the tunnel and blows up. That was hilarious. Yeah.
And, that was amazing.
I know you mentioned the tank chase, but like you said, I love that you said that tank chase is on par with the chase in Raiders. I think I agree. And Harrison Ford riding a horse, chasing it down. I think, my God, is there a more natural combination of 2 mammals on screen? I can't think of it.
You are forgetting about one great set piece though, Nathan, and it's the first one. It's with River Phoenix.
It is great. It is great.
That's
great
amazing.
opening.
I love you get so much good backstory, not to drag us all the way back to the beginning, but there's so much good stuff that happens. Yeah, I'm taking us along. Learning that Indy gets the scar on his chin from fighting a lion, that's perfect. And just the whole circus car chase I thought was great. And then getting to see his dad and how that sets all that up was perfect.
Yep.
I also love the opening shot of the mountain, like the Paramount logo on the mountain. The movie starts like I just love the variety of Indiana Jones movies opening because it depends on what mood you're in. If you want like a big splashy nightclub scene, go see Temple. If you want this epic desert, beautiful shots in Utah, and there's like singing at the beginning. I don't know if that's like the Boy Scouts or like Native Americans in the background. I never knew what that was.
Of course, Indy was a Boy Scout.
No, but there's audio at the beginning. There's like singing and drums that you can hear behind the mountain, and I've always loved that. I never know what that was supposed to be, but it sounded cool.
I can't wait to rewatch these movies because sometimes you both say stuff about them, and I'm like, there's so much I'm sure I'm not picking up on.
I want to talk a couple things about the end because I do have a couple of nitpicks with the end. I love this movie through and throughout, but there's a couple silly things at the end here. Donovan and Elsa enter this chamber. First of all, they're ignoring this 700-year-old man dressed like a knight, just chilling there. And maybe talk to that guy for a minute or two. I don't know. He might have something.
They're Nazis, Nathan. They're bad people.
They're not, I know, but it paints them as just not very interesting
stupid
villains. They're not. They became. And here's what's silly is that Donovan goes through the effort of sending in his minions into these trials one at a time. You do this so that I don't die, but he so cavalierly drinks from the Grail. And
wait, so you mean when they enter the Grail room as villains, they just seem like dumb
cartoonish,
or like I didn't quite understand it.
What I'm trying to say is maybe I didn't explain it properly because I do that a lot of times. But Donovan is sending in all his minions and Nazi soldiers in one at a time into the trial, like the first one, the Breath of God, and they're beheading them one at a time. And that's smart. Don't do it himself. He's sending in other people to do it. Which is also weird. It's not about the penitent man must kneel. The penitent man must kneel and roll, which is, I don't know if that's really how it's supposed to be. But anyways, but once Indy goes through, apparently that trial has been triggered. You don't have to ever do it again. He's able to do, somehow he also knows he can do the word of God. I guess he heard Indy or his dad tell him how to do that part about Jehovah. Even though Indy did the bridge, he was able to do that. I know he put some pebbles and stuff over it, but he only did like the first 5 or 7 feet of it. And that's like a 30-foot bridge. And he was able to still do that. But even after he gets to the Knight's Chamber, he gets in there and he is so cavalier about, I can't decide. And Elsa, I'll choose for him. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have one of these other guys do it.
He's very gullible in that moment. Yeah.
So much hubris.
It's such exactly. And I'm like, it just turned him into such a stupid character. I get it. It's great for the film, but when I thought about it, it's like, you know what? They needed it for the story, but I
always had this like alternate hilarious ending in my head where the knight is so glad that someone's there that like the knight runs away and Indiana Jones is forced to be the new guardian. And so he's just stuck in that room for the rest of his life. And like the movie ends with a taciturn Harrison Ford, like sitting on the knight's chair and he's just shit. And then
I just feel bad.
And the camera pulls back and that's it. Yeah.
I just feel bad. They fucked up that knight's house. Like
I know. And he's still stuck there alive, technically forever. And like his place.
I was wondering. I was like, do we think it resets after, or
he doesn't have the Grail anymore? Does he? The Grail fell into the pit.
But it's still there. It's on that
underneath. It's just
the knight can just swoop down and go get it, put it back. You think?
I don't know. It's still on the foundation.
That would be such an inappropriate mood killer if after the end credits, it cuts back to the Grail on the ledge, and you see the knight reach for it, but he just falls in.
Does the knight die? I mean, like,
I don't know. I feel like the Grail force field is still protecting that area, so I think he's just stuck there. and he's got all the time in the world, so he can slowly chisel away at that pillar that's like blocking the exit. He's got some maintenance jobs to do in there.
Well, the last thing I just want to say, I think needs to be talked about, the scene where Elsa is hanging from Indy's hand and soon falls, and Indy takes her place, and his dad is holding him. For me, is the most important scene in this entire film, because throughout we've been told that Henry only cares about the Grail and his son is secondary. That's what the essence of what we've been led, what's going on here. And Indy desperately wants to have his dad's approval and affection. And he has that opportunity to grab the Grail, and his father calls out, Indiana, let it go. And in that instant, Henry is both acknowledging that it's not worth it, but you are. And basically, you're not defined by your treasures, but by being my son. And in that instant, like, all their shit is resolved. And it's such a great bit of writing and a great moment.
And it's the first time he calls him Indiana in the whole movie. He's always called him Junior. So it's
I have
Spielberg, you literally just said the same thing. Spielberg loves the scene, and I think he loves the movie because that moment, like, just
this is a great double feature with the Fabelmans.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I love the Fabelmans.
He's working out a lot of stuff, a lot of issues, daddy issues in this movie. Sure.
A lot of his movies have big child of divorce energy.
Yeah. You know what? There's another clip that I want to play here, then we could probably take a break here. But I know we're going backwards from the climax of this movie here, but there's there's a lot of subtle moments here. I love all the quiet dialogue that Indy and his dad have. And there's the great scene on the Zeppelin, but there's the scene also where after the tank falls down and Henry thinks he lost his son, and he has that scene where I think I thought I lost him and all that. And he sees that he lived. We already talked about this a little bit, but for a few seconds, he becomes his father and he hugs him. And it's such a great moment where Indiana Jones, he smiles and he's being embraced by his dad. And honestly, it's the first time I watched this movie where I actually started to cry, because I know that feeling to seek that affection from someone. And then 5 seconds later, it's like back to work. And it's almost, I didn't mean to get that sentimental. So it was a home hitting moment in a lot of ways for me. But that was the essence of this whole movie. And then it culminates in the ending. But yeah.
It's a perfect ending. It's, like I said, the ending out of the three that sticks the landing for me the most. Especially, I really didn't like the ending of Temple, and I think this is so much stronger. It does a couple things. What you're talking about with the father and son relationship, Nathan, I think is spot on. It's so validating, not just that they find each other and have affection for each other despite their differences, but how there's two pieces of a puzzle and their work complements each other so well that they work together, and that they're this great combination, and that together they can solve these problems. And I like that the diary is the sort of prop throughout the film that tells a story of distance and then bring each other closer. And then it's just a tool that's used. Pages are ripped out, but that bond is still the same, and that togetherness. And you get such great storytelling at the end, because you see Elsa fall and you see her, it comes back to intention again. And yes, it's the moment of Sean Connery, Henry saying, Indiana, I choose you, you're my priority over this. But it's also the character development for Indy. It's what we get to see him grow as too, and saying, I'm going to put family first, and the intention behind this first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, one quick thing that I was just thinking that I really like about the story structure is, even though the MacGuffin is the Grail, I like what they cleverly do in the script, where it's like the diary, but Brody has the map, but they go back to Berlin just to get the diary. It's not quite straightforward, and I like the twists and turns are entertaining there.
Some great accoutrement, great accessories.
Yeah, this movie is just so smart and lean. And we're gonna wrap this up. One of the things I think just makes this just wonderful filmmaking, being the third film in this franchise, is that things that we're already familiar with the indie character in the universe, we don't have to keep seeing over and over. Like for instance, what I'm trying to say is like when they get to Berlin and Indy overtakes a guard to get his uniform, we actually only see a quick moment of some feet being dragged. And Indy steps out dressed as a Nazi soldier.
And the camera passes by their motorcycle, and it's just, oh, they're here, and they punched a guy out. Got it. Yeah.
And we can fill in the gaps. We've already seen so many times, having watched him sneak up on enemies and do this sort of thing. It saves us from having to watch it again, thus keeping the momentum moving forward. We can picture in our mind's eye how that exchange went down. Spielberg was smart enough to trust the audience, to not have to show us another instance of Indy sneaking up on somebody and punching him and taking him out. We didn't need another fight sequence. We got what we needed to in those little moments. So it's really well done because of that. Yeah. I don't have anything else. I don't know about you guys.
It was great.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a quick break. So thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate you to the Maximus. Don't let the theme of our show fool you. We are all about connecting with our listeners, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on the films we discuss. If you've seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and want to share your opinions, send us an email at backtotheframerate.com. We might even read it on the podcast. You can chime in on social media at backtotheframerate with your thoughts on the show and the movies we cover. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, and Twitter still. And one other thing I just want to mention, we are still actively trying to grow our audience, and I post so much on our socials and all these places I just mentioned, but word of mouth is by far the best way of growing our audience. So if you are a fan of our show, I would just ask, please tell someone that you love and listen to Back to the Frame Rate. That is the best way of helping us grow our fan base. So we would appreciate it. Okay. So we're going to come back and get to our decisions on whether Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is going to be saved in our vault for future generations or purged into the fiery apocalypse. Seems like there might not be a lot of suspense here, but I will go first because I went first on my review. Like I said before, if I think this is a better movie than Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I said that was a perfect film, then absolutely this movie has to be saved. If these were the only two Indiana Jones movies ever made, then they would be, that's all I would ever need. But yes, this movie must be saved in our vault. 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was a little on the fence earlier because Raiders is just such a perfect all-encapsulating film, but this movie just touches on so much character development that I do think if you're going to have multiple Indiana Jones movies in the vault, these are the two to have. The differences are important enough. So it's a yes for me.
But B, you haven't seen Crystal Skull yet, so
Sure, maybe we can have three. I don't know. My mind's open. I know literally nothing about it. Are there still Nazis? I don't know.
We shall find out.
Okay. I was surprised to see them back. I was like, ooh.
Though I truly love this movie, I would not include it in the vault just because. No, I'm kidding. I would put it in the vault. Yeah.
I totally believed you, Sam.
Yeah. I did too.
Yeah. I was like, all right.
No, I can't.
You're just trying to fuck with us.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I can't say, yeah, like I agree. It's almost as good as Raiders. It's of course, like I can't. I also, when it comes to, if we did the Star Trek franchise, I'd be doomed because I'm a completionist. So even the shitty ones, like I need to have all of them on a shelf so I can have to choose. If one movie's missing, as terrible as it is, that's the one I'm going to want to watch because it's not there.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think that was a really good discussion of this film. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah.
Say something that will never happen. Oh, no. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, I'm so glad to be watching these finally. And thanks, guys, for going along and doing a rewatch for me because I've really wanted to see these.
No, it's awesome.
It only gets better from here.
It's true. And one thing that will probably never happen on the show, but if you want to talk bad threequels, if we did threequels from 1983, we could do Jaws 3D and Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. Two awful movies. That'll never happen. But
listeners, stay
threequels gone
tuned
wrong,
for
yeah.
listeners, stay tuned for when we're all together to watch Jaws next year.
Let's get this in the vote. I almost forgot to do this. Here we go.
Woo!
All right.
Junior. Sorry.
All right. It is time to get to our Harrison Ford movie draft and check out my snazzy new movie draft bumper.
You must choose. Choose wisely.
You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I show
Oh
you
my
how deep the
God.
rabbit hole goes.
I reprogrammed the simulation so it was possible to rescue the ship.
What? You cheated.
I don't like to lose.
Call it.
Yes. I am all about Captain Kirk from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and that audio quote. Incredible.
I had some fun.
One
this
thing that was
weekend.
missing is you should have had, he chose poorly.
Maybe I'll do a remix of it coming up. Need some help. Anybody want to do some audio editing out there? Email us. All right. I'm a
That was
busy
awesome.
guy. I'm a busy guy.
That was actually really well done. Yeah.
Okay. So, rules of our Harrison Ford movie draft. We're in the middle of our Indiana Jones retrospective. So, why not do this? The rules are this. We are each going to draft 5 Harrison Ford movies, and we cannot draft this. Once a movie is drafted, it is off the table.
Off the table.
It is, and we just want to get our 5 favorite
I'm excited.
movies. All right. And
This ain't no joke. This is going to be epic.
yeah. So what's funny is I looked at his filmography. He is not the most prolific actor out there. He's been around since the early 70s, but man,
he's a little bit of a journeyman too, right? He just takes jobs.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. I had to do this. I sprung this on you, but do you have any particular strategy you want to share?
No. I'm not telling you.
Poker pup, poker face.
Okay. All right.
My 5 favorite Harrison Ford movies.
To do this in a fair way, this is how we will do a random number for this because I don't have a better system.
No, I like the order we were in.
No.
1 to 20?
We'll do 1 to 20.
11.
B has 11.
16.
And I'll do 2.
Okay.
And it is 18.
Woo!
So Sam, you are going first. B, you are going second, and I'm going third. Okay.
A trilogy of people.
A threequel.
All right. So Sam, you get the first pick in our movie draft, Harrison Ford
First
movie
pick.
draft. And I want to do this also. Let's like a timer, like 10 seconds at most. Let's do this fast. Keep this entertaining.
Sounds good. So when I was born in 1981 on a farm, for my first choice, I would choose the excellent Peter Weir directed film Witness, starring Harrison Ford.
That was in my. Okay. Witness
All
off
right.
the table.
Damn it.
Already done. Not happy. All right, B.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Oh, you guys are
B's
coming up
second
strong.
favorite movie.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Damn it. All right. It's fine. I'm fine.
You're fine. You're fine. We're fine.
I'm fine. It's fine.
All right. I got my Indiana Jones in. All right. And are we doing Snake? We're doing Snake. I didn't mention that before, but we have to do Snake.
Do what?
Snake?
Snake order. Snake order. So I have the 4th pick, the 3rd and 4th pick. We do Snake order throughout. I'm springing this on you now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Either way, I'm in the middle. It doesn't matter.
Right. I wanted
That's
Witness in
funny.
there, but that's okay. I have to get in the two of the biggest franchises he was in. But he was never cooler in a Star Wars movie than he was in Empire Strikes Back.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm going Last Crusade.
Last Crusade.
I'm taking the movie we just watched.
Last Crusade is off the table. All right, Blade Runner, Last Crusade. We are all in the 80s still.
Wait, do I?
It's early days.
I go now, right? Or do I not?
Yes,
you pick two.
You get two
right?
picks, Sam.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Options.
The middle's really.
I'm gonna. So I can choose two right now. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
That's incredible. I'm gonna do a 1-2 Philip Noyce punch from 1992 and 1994. That would be Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger.
I was gonna do Patriot Games. I was gonna do Patriot Games. Okay, it's fine.
I had with those two, with the two available to me. It was all too clear.
I'm doing The Fugitive.
The Fugitive. Oh,
Tommy Lee Jones.
All my favorites are being taken
Joey
away.
Pants.
Okay, my top tier is gone all except for one. But I don't know if I want that one. And okay, this is going to sound like an odd pick, but I think this is an extremely underrated movie. And I think the only time he ever played a villain, and I love this movie to death. And this is What Lies Beneath.
Ooh, good one. Good choice.
Never seen
I
it.
love
Oh, you'd
the
like
fighting.
me. It's scary.
I would.
I love this.
It's actually really good. Yeah.
And I had to go with that because I've got the other franchise covered. Nobody's picked the other. Anyways, it's okay. I know, B, you're not going to take any Star Wars movies.
I like Star Wars. There's no reason that I wouldn't take any Star Wars movies. They're just.
All right. Oh, I get another pick. I think I have another pick.
Me. All right.
Yeah, I get another one. I don't want two Star Wars movies on my pick. I want variety. And you've taken all the ones that I want. So I am going to go down another tier.
You sure it's not Return of the Jedi?
Oh, man. And I am going to, this is going to be a little weird. B, you took Blade Runner, and I am a giant fan of Blade Runner 2049. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to take it. It's a great legacy.
I'm going with
love that movie. Fuck. All right.
And I only got one pick after this. All right.
So how many picks do I have?
You got two picks. These are your last two. You got one pick here. Yeah, you're the middle.
Okay. All right. This is tough. I'll go Star Wars. Let's do the OG Star Wars.
All right. Sam?
Get off my plane, Air Force One.
Air Force One.
Can't believe none of us picked Sabrina. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. And Sam, you have your last pick.
Damn it. Ah, flabbergast.
The Devil's Own.
I can't believe I'm going to pick this movie. I'm committing blasphemy. This movie's a guilty pleasure for me. Give you a hint. He co-stars in this film. One of his co-stars is David Schwimmer. I'm of course referring to 6 Days, 7 Nights.
Okay. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. Neither did I. Yeah.
Did not expect that. I haven't seen it.
So it's ridiculous, but I love it. It's like Diet Coke Indiana Jones, basically.
Okay. B, your last pick.
Oh, I get one more. I thought that was my last one.
You have Blade Runner, Last Crusade, Fugitive, and Star Wars.
Let me guess. Force 10 from Navarone. Sorry.
Yeah, nailed it. Obviously, it's
Force One,
cowboys
whatever it's
and
called.
aliens. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not his biggest, but he's in American Graffiti. It's not a vehicle for him, but he's in it.
It's not. I thought about that because it's a really great movie, but
It's not a Harrison Ford vehicle. I'd be tempted to do Working Girl or something, but I like American Graffiti better.
Hey,
you did pick The Fugitive, right?
She has it. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm just glad that movie someone has to acknowledge that. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
That's like quintessential Harrison Ford on the run. God, it's great.
And that leaves my final pick. And I'm looking like, do I have anything in the second, third, or fourth tier? And it's like more Star Wars and Indiana Jones films.
You can pick those though.
I'd be hilarious. I think you should pick The Rise of Skywalker because he's in it for 10 minutes or like 10 seconds.
Honestly, the movie that I have. Okay, here it is. This is actually a really good movie, and I almost forgot all about it. And it's the film that he met River Phoenix on to suggest that he be cast as the young version of him, and that is the Mosquito Coast. Really good film.
I want to see that. I've never seen it, but I think I would like it.
Also a Peter Weir film, I think, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know because I was going through Peter Weir stuff when we were doing our Mad Max.
It's low in my tiers because I haven't seen it since probably 1988 or so, but I remember liking it back then. But I was 14 or so when I saw it, so I don't. It might sit very differently with me then. I'd like to watch it again. I think it's really good.
I like Harrison Ford as an actor, but he is either in movies that I really are so not up my street at all. I don't know.
I totally hear that.
Graffiti.
All my choices are essentially like Harrison Ford vehicles. Like he's such a good movie star,
right?
That like you see the movies that are like Ford Center or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, there's his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. His last 13 movies, I have only seen of the last 13 movies like Dial of Destiny, Blade Runner, Force Awakens, and Crystal Skull. If you go back before that, I stopped watching his movies after K-19, The Widowmaker. Everything after that, I've barely seen anything like Firewall, Hollywood Homicide, Crossing Over.
Oh, man.
Extraordinary Measures, Morning Glory. I never saw Cowboys and Aliens. I never saw Ender's Game. I never saw Call of the Wild. So all of these are blind
how come Call of the Wild didn't get picked tonight? Yeah, I've seen those all.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't so great.
Ender's Game, I like the book a lot. I wasn't thrilled with the movie. It was fine. Yeah, there's some stuff that I'm just like,
all right.
Ender's Game, the movie was like, it was good.
Yeah, technically a movie.
It's like yeah.
All right, let's just recap our list here. Sam, run down your movies.
My movies are 6 Days, 7 Nights, Witness, Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games, and Air Force One.
B, run down your movies.
No, I didn't write them down.
Okay, I will run down your movies. You have Blade Runner, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Fugitive, Star Wars, A New Hope, just to clarify, the first one, and American Graffiti. The first one.
I have great taste.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And my 5 movies were Raiders of the Lost Ark, Empire Strikes Back, What Lies Beneath, Blade Runner 2049, and The Mosquito Coast. Listeners at home, who won this draft? Let us know.
Obviously, it was me.
Obviously.
It's not even a contest.
Okay.
So sorry, guys. RIP.
So we're going to end this episode with our weekly highlight, where we just talk about anything that we watched this week in the world of movies or not. If anyone has anything they would like to mention, I have something, but would anybody else like to go first?
Go for it.
God. Right. You go first. I'm thinking. I'm sure I saw something.
You guys already mentioned last week that you saw Tim Burton's Beetlejuice, but I did finally catch up with it.
Oh, nice.
What'd you think?
Week. I'd like to say it's the best thing that Tim Burton has done in decades, but honestly, I've barely seen anything he's done in so long. Yeah. So I can only speculate that this is the best thing he's done in a long time. I have watched Wednesday, the Netflix show, which I do think is well done, which of course he's behind that. This film, though, I liked it, didn't love it. I definitely think the second half is stronger than the first. And maybe that's because it spends a lot of time introducing a lot of characters up front.
Yeah.
But I think it's to the film's detriment. Way too many characters, way too many subplots, and several of which they could have just done away with. And I think the film would have been stronger. What I did like, though, in the second half is that it does just completely go batshit crazy. And I was really happy about that. And I'm glad they still did not make Beetlejuice like the main character. And I was worried that this is what a lot of Lego sequels do. Oh, the thing that everybody loves, we're going to make that the thing.
Yeah.
But I did read that if you do clock it, Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice is like in the first movie, like 20 minutes. He's in this movie 40 minutes, which is significantly more, but it still didn't feel like it was overused. But Keaton's still awesome in this movie.
He crushed it.
I thought shined in this. She was my second favorite part of this movie.
Me too.
And I thought Jenna Ortega was born to be in this franchise. Winona Ryder, I don't know. I was really mixed on her in this film, but anyways,
I did like the story element where the daughter, when the kid that she's interested in turns out to be like a dead.
I loved that.
I love that because when they were first.
Let's not spoil it. Let's not spoil it. Because a lot of people have not seen it.
And without giving away anything, I'll say when that character was first introduced, I thought I was like, oh God, this is so cliche and boring. And I like that there's more to it than that.
Yeah. But I'm happy it's not terrible, but it was as good as I thought it was. It's not good. Best way, it's about what I thought it was going to be on the quality level. It's serviceable, fun. It's fan service.
Yeah, but I'm a fan and I was serviced.
Yeah.
Like I think the movie suffers from too many plot lines. Like I think it's two movies that are clashing often.
I felt like it was 5 movies that were clashing.
I hear that. I feel like the first film
didn't bother me. I still loved it.
I enjoyed it. I feel like the first film had the novelty of like their perception of what the afterlife is like, that it's like very bureaucratic and like you see it for the first time in that film. So the concept is fresh, where I feel like this movie oscillates back and forth between the ghost world and the regular world. And it's busy. It has a lot going on.
It is busy.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll leave it there because we're not doing like a full review on it, but I had a good time. And I thought it got stronger as the movie went on. But anyways, that's my thoughts on Beetlejuice. It's in theaters right now. But yeah.
I did not watch something new this week. I watched something very old.
Ooh.
From 1947, I watched Orson Welles' Lady from Shanghai. It's Rita Hayworth.
Oh,
it's so good. You guys, it's so good. It's a little noir. It's very fun. Very fun.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't want to give it away because I hate to spoil a nearly 100-year-old movie, but
please don't. There are people are hanging on their seats trying to.
We don't
do that. Anything, Sam, that you did?
I saw Last Crusade, but it's a crazy week, but not much. Yeah, I meant to continue watching Rings of Power season 2. I didn't get to it, so definitely next week. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Yeah,
I did see the new Jeremy Saulnier movie Rebel Ridge on Netflix. I do like his films a lot. I'm a huge fan of Green Room and Blue Ruin. I did like it. I like go crazy over it. There's a lot of love for this online right now, but I thought this was a really good entry. If you like First Blood, Sylvester Stallone film, this is kind of like in that tone, although much less violent, but it's like a similar type of character in that kind of situation. It's well done. It's really well done. Not what if you look at like the Netflix cover art, you would think this is just some generic action film. It's more than that. It's got Don Johnson. It's got Don Johnson in a great role.
I like him so much.
Yeah. Jeremy Saulnier is a really good director, and his stuff is excellent.
That's awesome.
So I recommend it. And yeah, that's really what I've been doing this week.
I'm
That's
going to
all.
start a Coen Brothers rewatch and go through their filmography. I've seen
Nice.
most of it. There's a few key ones that I'm missing, but I think I might just start at the beginning, do it again. I rewatched True Grit, their remake of
Nice.
True Grit,
Oh,
which is
so good.
one of my favorite Coen Brother movies. It's a perfect,
Mr. LaBeef.
it's a perfect modern Western, and it was so great to get lost in it. I should just do all these again.
I love that movie, and Dana Carvey did the funniest impression of. I can't.
That's a name I haven't
my
heard
brain is
ever.
it's the guy from the Jeff Bridges in.
Yes.
Jeremy, he did an impression of him, and he said that he sounds like he's digesting an enormous amount of food when he delivers any line, because he's like, Mr. digesting a steak.
It's perfect. I love that movie. I think I saw it like 4 times in theaters.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that about wraps it up. Next week, come back. We are going to be wrapping up our quest for fortune and glory with Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. What could
Saving
go
me
wrong?
luck, folks.
Would you say, Sam?
Saving the best for last.
Saving the best for last. It'll be a fun discussion.
It will.
Yeah. All right, that's the show.
I love B is was trying to decode that. She's I don't know what they mean. That's the fun of it. Yeah.
No, I think you guys are being sarcastic, but I'm still on the I don't know if there will be Nazis again.
We'll see. Yeah.
Never know.
Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. We also wish to thank Brian Ellsworth for our show opening. On behalf of all of us, we bid you farewell from the fallout shelter. Your presence in our underground sanctuary is truly appreciated. We are truly sorry you cannot join us, but we want to express our gratitude for your company. If you are finding solace in our discussions, we kindly ask that you please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever portal connects you to our broadcast. There you can find more episodes of this podcast and also on our website, backtotheframerate.com, and on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, all those places. And our handle is at Back to the Frame Rate. Your support is the beacon of light that brightens our confined space. Until we emerge from the fallout, stay with us, keep hope alive, and keep those reviews coming. This is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate, signing off.
We're about to complete a great quest, the Holy Grail, Dr. Jones.
Wrong button. How about this one?
They did it on purpose.
No. There we go.
There we go.
Podcast.
I want you to know it's over.